Hey guys, welcome back to West Coast Mopars. This will be part 3 on the 64 Ford F350. It's a dump truck, or I'm calling it a dump truck. It's like a mini dump truck. I think it's basically, it's bigger than a 1-ton. It's like I'm guessing more like a 2-ton. I don't know, the GVR says 10,000 pounds, so, or 10,000 kilograms, I don't know. Anyways, this is a part 3 on the dump truck. This will be like the brakes. I'm going to run all new brake lines. It's got the bigger 1/4-inch brake lines instead of the 3/16. Oh, I've got to change this tire. The back side of this tire is just rotten. Let's see it. Looks like it was rubbing on something, but I don't know what it would have been rubbing on back here. There's not really much. Maybe the steering. Maybe the steering right here when it comes in. So a couple things to do. I've got to adjust the clutch. Here's one of the brake lines. It's just cut right here on the end. So I'm going to run all new brake lines. I've got these ones up here in the frame to do. Somebody's put a dual master in it, which I'm putting a new one in, but I'm going to keep that. But you can see the line to the rear has got the old switch right there. I'm going to get rid of that, make it one solid line. And because as it comes to here, this rear hose, it's all crusty. So there's no point in even keeping it and trying to make it work. I'm just going to replace it. I've got hoses on the way. I've got wheel cylinders on the way. And we got to get this working. This is the hydraulic dump. And it doesn't have a reservoir tank. It just flows through this. So it's clearly been leaking. We'll have to look into that. I don't know if I need a pinion seal or not yet till I start moving it around. We'll see. But I should change the gear oil. It looks like it actually has a plug under here, so that's nice and convenient. I'll change that. And figure out what this red wire's for running across. You know, just a bunch of odds and ends. I do want to go through the front kingpins a little bit. Make sure that they're okay, not completely worn out and flopping around. So I might dive into those a little bit. So yeah, this part 3, this will be just some finishing, I shouldn't say finishing touches, this thing is always going to need work, but just sort of the final steps to getting it out moving around. Okay, so I started making up brake lines here. Got these all flared, they're all new. I did put a new one in from the rear to the front. I cleaned up the little T from the master cylinder. Looks like whoever did it, they had just a T for the front brakes, and then the rear brakes they had coming straight off the master. And over here, I've taken the wheel off, and here is the hub assembly for the front. So got it off. There's that. It's just sitting on that other drum, but there's that hub. These drums, I'm definitely going to turn them. They are a little crusty. I did order inner bearings. I couldn't find the outer bearings, but these ones say Japan on them, so they've obviously been replaced. But they don't look too bad actually. I might just repack them, throw them back on. And this is just full of spider webs. And I do have the single piston wheel cylinders, which is good because that's what I ordered. But then looking in the book, it shows that there's actually 2 different styles. There's the regular ones where they got the other piston. There's 2, right? And then there's this style with 1. So the listings on Rock Auto just showed just the 1. So that's where I got them. Seems to be where I get everything. So I think I'm just going to strip these brakes down, clean them up, and hopefully those parts show up tomorrow and I can continue on with this. It actually, everything's looking pretty good in here. The spindle's nice and clean. Just got to separate that hub from the drum and I can turn that and put these brakes together, and that's pretty much it. Once I get these brakes done, I'm just gonna fire it up, see if I can't back it out of the shop and move it around. Oh, it'd be great to get this thing out of here and start using it. Anything after this is just extra at this point. Okay, so front tires. This is the good one, but I may as well change them both. And I did notice when I touch these tires, you get all kinds of crud on your fingers. So they're They're just old. I don't know how long they'd really last with me going down the road with them. The rears are probably just as old, but I don't have a matching set of 4 for the rears, so I think I have a pair though for the front. And that other front tire on the inside bead on the other side, it's got that huge groove. I'll show it later up close, but these are a 235/85/16, so I'm pretty sure in my tire pile back here, I think I've got a pair of the same. I think these are them here. I sort of threw them aside a while ago. What are these? Oh, these are a 215/85/16. I do have those two. They're not a matching pair though. One's a Michelin and one's a Goodyear. Or what else do I have? I've got these over here. These are a 245/75/16. So a little wider, a little shorter. It doesn't really matter. It's just a 2-wheel drive. This is a 245/75/16. Another one. I may use these. These are a matching pair. And at least then it would look the same on the front. I don't think I have much else for matching 16s. Those are probably 16s there, but they don't match. So I'll probably use those. Save these for something else. Okay, first step, let the air out. Now these are not your these aren't your old style split rim where the rim's split in the center. These just have a locking ring. It's like a big C-clip. So this is the ring here on the edge, and there's a split somewhere. It's a little crusty, but basically there's a split in it, and it just acts as a big snap ring. So once you let the air out, you can pop the snap ring off all the way around, and then the tire should just slide up. Might be a little complicated with the tube, but the tire should just slide up and off. And then I'm just going to wire wheel the crap out of this ridge. Make sure that this ring will seat again. It's looking a little crusty, so I might regret this whole thing. Maybe we'll see. But I can't go driving around with the other tires. The other tire the way it is with that groove in it. So let's just see how this goes. Okay, well I didn't even bother setting up the tripod or anything, filming that. You guys would have just been laughing at me, struggling away. I finally got the tube out. That was a battle and a half. Yeah, so I still got to get this tire off here, and then I can clean the rim up. But man, this thing is not enjoyable. I did. I took off some tires off that Power Wagon chassis I used for my 49 Fargo. I took the tubes out of those tires. They were the same locking ring, but they came off so easy. I thought that these would be similar. This is an ultimate battle. So, oh well. But it's a good learning experience, but not worth filming and you guys watching me for an hour screaming at it and fighting with it. Okay, well I got the first one apart. That took me an hour and a half. So just to get the rim out of the tire. Oh man. So hopefully the second one goes smoother now that I've got the first one. What a pain. This one's got some rust here. Not the end of the world because there is a tube, but hopefully the integrity of the rim is okay. I mean, I'm not going to be driving this thing down 2 hours away from home. It'll just be booting around Arrington and getting firewood and whatever. Honestly, probably never even leave Parksville. So, whatever. But I'm just going to clean it up with the wire wheel. And I really got to clean up this bead here, because this is where that snap ring, where the lock ring sits. And then I'm going to clean up the lock ring itself. And put in that tire. I really hope that tube goes in. I hope that's not a pain. Well, I know it will be, but I hope it goes back together smoothly. Okay, so here's how I pack bearings. This is a bearing, this is the inner bearing. It's a Timken. Looks like it's still in pretty good shape and it'll match the race, so I'm just going to repack it. So I've got a pail of grease down there. I just scoop some grease with the end of the bearing, put it in my hand, and then you just hit the bearing into the palm of your hand. And you basically just packing that grease. You can see how it's coming through the inside here. Just spin it around. Keep going. Not the most exciting thing, but you're just basically forcing it through the inside here. Instead of just putting it on the outside and smearing it around and telling yourself that that's good, you want to get it inside the bearing. Because once you start driving it around, it's just going to work its way out. If you don't have it on the inside, it'll just work its way down the spindle, and you never actually really greased it. So that's it. I just worked my way around, and I don't know how well you can see it, but it'll just start coming out the inside. That's it. I'm just going to do the other one. The other one's a little guy. This is actually Japan. It's a Bauer, made in Japan, I guess. Lots of those Japanese bearings around. SKF. I think those are Japanese. Same thing. Just going to pack the grease. Work it around. I like to use that. It's Lucas, I think it's called Red and Tacky. That's it. So I've got the the inner bearing set. I still got to put the grease seal in. I'm just going to reuse. I didn't buy grease seals. These ones actually looked pretty good. They're actually, I think they're not even, well, they may be old, but they're not that much wear on them or use. So I'll put those back in. And then I probably put too much grease on the spindle here. I'm going to wipe a little bit around, but get those bearings back on, set the drums. These adjusters, there's just a spring holding the adjuster right there, so that's all there is to them. These shoes, yeah, they're old. This side actually looks a little worse than the other side, but they're still pretty good. I'll just reuse those. Got new wheel cylinders in. There's the brake hoses. So once I get the fronts back together, I can go ahead and put that wheel on that I did the other day. But then outside, this wheel I'm going to take apart again. I mean, it didn't blow apart, it's fine, but the rim is really not great. Actually, you can see it all along the inside here. It's sort of splitting apart there. And then here where the valve stem is, it's hard to see from this side, but it's actually rusted right through, and the tube is actually splitting the rim open. So I'm thinking I might try welding a plate. I'm going to take the tire off, and then I'm going to weld a plate on the, not on this side, but inside the rim. Sort of curves, and I'll drill a hole in it for the valve stem, and I'm just going to weld the plate to the rim to keep the tube from squishing out the rim and wrecking the rim more. The problem is with these rims, I did a bit of research last night, and these are specific to 55 to 66 Ford F350s. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of options out there to change these. This bolt pattern is 6 by 7 1/4 across, so 7 1/4 inches center to center. There's nothing else that interchanges. There are some 19.5-inch wheels that came on certain, I think, late 50s Ford delivery vans, but apparently they're rare as hen's teeth. I am not even going to bother trying to find a set of those. These aren't the ultra dangerous split rims. These just have a locking ring. They're not split in the middle like the Firestone Widowmakers or anything like that. These are just have a locking ring. These are still used, I think, on forklifts and stuff like that. So I'm not dealing with anything extremely sketchy here, but I don't want the rim. You can see it there. There's the tube. The rim is just rusted away there. So I'm thinking if I was to weld a plate in there, at least it would keep the tube from bulging out and wrecking the rim. That's my thoughts. It's a temporary fix. I don't think I'm going to keep it. It's basically just so I can put this wheel back on the dump truck, and then I can get it out of the shop and move it around. So that's my thoughts. We'll see how it goes. Well, here's what I'm dealing with. It is rotten all the way around to about there. The other side's pretty good. It's just this one side. Maybe it was sitting with no air in it down in the mud for a long time. That'd be my guess. What I've got is just a plate of, it's just thin sheet metal from an old Scamp I used to have in the back here. It's all rusty, so I cut the roof off and used the roof for patches. But I've drilled a hole. That hole is for the valve stem, and I'm just going to tack it. I'm going to keep this back a little bit from this lip, and I'm just going to tack it along here, and then tack it here, and then just sort of bend it down and around the wheel and just weld it all the way. And all that's going to do is keep the rim from opening up, and also give the tube something to rest against without trying to put, because basically before it was just trying to push through these holes, and then I don't want to wreck that tube either by slicing it up on this sheet, on this rest. Okay, I still have to grind it down, but this is basically what I came up with. I just put this patch in. These side welds here, these are just relief cuts I did so that I could get the sheet metal to bend down into the curve of the rim, because otherwise it'd end up buckling. Drilled the hole. I'll probably hammer this down a bit just to make it a bit smoother so the valve stem doesn't get sliced up on the edge there. Okay, so here it is. I've welded the patch on, and I just ground it down, and then I just sprayed it with some silver paint just to sort of protect it a bit. It's not perfect, but at least the rim isn't splitting open. Oh well, you can see it from the inside here. You can sort of see what the remnants look like in there. So, and it kind of traveled all the way around here. I ended up doing it all the way back there, around, and then there's actually just another one just a little further back here. Okay, it's getting dark out, but I did manage to get the new tire on the split rim, or on the rim. I wire wheeled the rim. I also wire wheeled the snap ring. I got the valve stem in the hole, and I'm just gonna get the ring set. I'm gonna chain it down and try putting some air in it and see what happens. Hopefully I don't lose an arm or worse. Okay, this is the driver's side. Turned out pretty good. And this bearing says Mexico on it. This is an SKF. I thought they were Japan, but who knows? Maybe they're outsourcing. So this one actually looks pretty good. This is what came out. I'm just going to put this back in. I'm going to repack it, put it back in because it matches that race. Okay, front wheels are on. Now this is the side I just did outside. This is the one I welded. Obviously it worked. The lock ring, I don't love how it's seated. I couldn't seem to get it to seat any better. So I put this one on facing the wall. That way if it fires off, at least it just hits the wall. I'm going to avoid walking around over here for at least today, maybe tomorrow. I think the real danger will be when I actually move it out of the shop on its own power. That'll be if it flies apart. The driver's side, this was actually the wheel that was on the passenger side originally. It's in much better shape. This one's seated, no problem. But I still set this ladder up. I mean, the ladder's not going to stop it. The ladder's not going to, be stationary. But at least if it flies off, the ladder, I'd rather the ladder hit my nice Fargo here than that split ring, the lock ring just flying off and smashing the paint. So that's why the ladder is there. But onto the rears. I've got the rear wheels off. Now the rear wheels are also split rims. They're the same as the fronts. They don't look too bad. I'm not even going to touch them. Those tires are fine. There's nothing on either sets of tires that's freaking me out, so I'll just leave those alone. And then the drums here. So you guys that don't know how to take these drums off, what you have to do, this is a floating axle, so you take the nut off and the lock washers. Nut and lock washers come off first. Then you hammer on this pad here with a sledgehammer, or you can use a hammer, but like a big heavy sledge is good. And you just wail away on the end of this, and what that's doing is shocking it around these studs so that these cones come out. See, this one's actually loose enough to get it with my finger. Those cones, as I dropped on the ground, those cones are what keeps this basically centered. So you just wail away on it, knock the cones out, and I might have hit it a couple more times to get these to break free. Then you pull this axle out, so I'll show you guys that. Great, so once you get all the cones out, you just pull this out, and try not to let it hang too long in that spot. That is the grease cap, or the grease seal on the end. But there's the axle shaft. So that comes out. And then it's dripping a little bit of gear oil. I'll put a rag under there. But in here, it's got these locking tabs. You bend them down, and you just have to unthread the big lock nut in here. There's usually two. There's usually one on the outside. Then you take off the middle tab that locks it, and then there'll be another one inside. Okay, those are out. I've actually got this socket here. It's a big, just a big thin-walled socket. I've got two of them. I didn't know if either would fit, but this one does, which is nice because these actually are in pretty good shape. So normally you'll see like a huge ridge on the edge here where somebody's hit it with like a drift and just made huge marks in it to hammer it out. This one doesn't look like anyone has ever done that. Here's that locking ring. So normally these tabs, sort of see that tab's folded up, so they'll be folded over that nut. You fold them back over the first nut, and then you got your locking ring, and then you fold them forwards over the second nut, and that just keeps them from spinning. That's basically like, it's the same idea as a castle nut with a cotter pin, but in the rear here. So yeah, now I got to take this inner bearing out, sort of see it in there. And then this will just slide off. It's going to be big and heavy and awkward, so I'll probably just put it down over here somewhere. Okay, here's that drum. I don't have my light over here, but it's a little rusty on the inside, but it's not the best. I don't know if I want to run this on my lathe. It's pretty heavy. I mean, I'm sure the lathe will be fine, but I might just clean it up with the wire wheel just to avoid lugging it over there. But check this out. There's some bees' nests came out, and looks like I had a bit of a bee's nest in the back here. That's hilarious. I did not expect that. This must have been huge. They were just living back here. I wonder what the other side will show me. I can't say I've ever pulled a drum apart and seen a bee's nest in there like this. Luckily it's winter right now, so if there's anything in there it'd be dormant. It's not warm enough. I got the wood stove cranking away in the shop here, so maybe somebody will wake up in there, but I doubt it. Unless they're just long gone. But that's hilarious. I've never seen inside a drum a big bee's nest like that. And these shoes aren't the thickest things. They're okay. I mean, they're still there. They're not falling off, but there's a bunch of shoes in the box here. I'll see if they're the same. Maybe somebody was already planning on doing these brakes and just never got around to it. But yeah, that's pretty funny. Alright, got it all torn down. There's the new wheel cylinder. Here's the old one. Both bolts snapped off inside. It's super rusty. It does have some fluid in it coming out, but I don't believe it was working. So, new ones are here, the exact same. I got a couple bolts for it. Okay, reassembled with the replacement shoes. I don't know if they're new and just really old and gross looking, or what the story is on them. They were in the back of the truck here, so they may have sat outside for years and years and years. I don't really know, but they are better than the ones that came out. The ones that came out, you can see this one here, they're riveted on, and it's right down to the rivets, so there's no point in putting this back in. And then this side, I thought about reusing, but it's cracked. I don't know if you can see that there. So, but unfortunately, there's only 3 of these newer riveted ones. Okay, so I got all the brake lines are done and bent. This side they're kind of goofy. They come down out the passenger side, and then I had to sort of reroute them around and down. But originally I had the booster in here on this bracket, but who would have guessed the booster was no good because it was with the truck when I got it. So I actually just took the booster out, and I'm just going to do manual drums, which is fine. I've got manual drums on my Fargo and manual drums on my other Fargo. It's no problem. So, and it's a stick, so if I want to slow down, I could gear down. Anyway, so the bracket I had to modify a little bit. Put some studs through it, and I don't know what this bracket, somebody's just made it. I ended up just cutting those plates off and welding them on again. Anyways, so I'm just bleeding the brakes right now, and they're going pretty good. I'm up here on my ladder. So this is what I do when I'm by myself, and I got no helpers to help me bleed the brakes, which is every time. So in here, I just got this, this is the jack handle. Just pump. And then I just jam it in the seat, like so. That's what I do by myself every time. And then I come under here, under the hoist, and there's my bleeder. And I got no fluid yet on this side, but I just had it coming out the other side, so go check my fluid. So yeah, I would just come up here, pull the handle off, and then continue pumping with the handle, or check for fluid, which, I climb up the ladder again. It's a bit of a slow way of doing things, but oh yeah, just air in there I guess still. Just got to keep pumping. Bit of a slow way to do things, but when you're in here by yourself all day, you find ways to do it. I know there's little vacuum pumps and stuff you can buy to bleed them, but I've always done it this way, and it's always worked out well for me. Okay, well, I ended up driving the truck out late last night out of the shop. I didn't bother. I should have recorded it, but you know, I didn't get to it. So here it is outside. I still got to put the front bumper back on. I had to adjust the clutch almost all the way out on the rod, but I think that's because I used a diaphragm pressure plate instead of the Borgbeck plate, and it's actually a shallower pressure plate than the old Borgbeck 3-finger. So anyways, the rod's all the way out, clutch works fine. It runs great, 180 degrees is what it held at. The lights work, all the cab lights work. Here, I'll pull the switch, see if they'll show up in the daytime here. Oh yeah. Yeah, the cab lights. Oh, interesting. Well, the other one was working, but... And the headlights are on here. I think I got one tail light. I still got to fix the other... Oh, I even got marker lights. I didn't know that. I still got to fix this left tail light here. I wonder if... Yeah, this marker light's off. We'll fix that. I've just got the... I'm just working on this spot here. I'm basically just trying to hammer it back out. And then I don't know how I want to fix it. I might just tack weld a piece of metal on the inside, just some spot welds, and then maybe just silicone it on the outside, just something to keep the water from coming in. I'm not too worried about cosmetics on this thing, but don't want a big gaping hole there. And I still got to make some sort of plate here for my gauge, for my oil pressure gauge. That temp gauge that was in the truck, I think I showed you guys that. It works great. It works just like it should. And in the dash there, even the high beam lights on. Like, all those lights work. The this door shuts awesome. The driver's door I had to adjust quite a bit to get it to meet here. See here, I had to shim it out. It's kind of goofy, but I used some shims here to bring this thing out. So something's wrong in the cab. It's twisted. I don't know what's going on, but I actually managed to get the... See here, I gotta slam it. I did pull on the PTO, and it does work. So the box actually came up only about halfway, though. I think it's low on hydraulic oil, but right now the PTO is still engaged. And it's that forward, the first handle there, the little stubby guy. So I've got to figure out how to get it out. So, because I pulled on it, got all excited, pulled on it, thought, hey, it's going to move. Well, it won't come out now. So the truck will still drive around, but you've always got the PTO spinning. And then this lever here, when you pull it up, that makes the box go, that's the box down. Pull it up, the box comes down. You push it down, the box goes up. So it's kind of annoying, actually. I might look at see if I can switch it, because if it was down, then it wouldn't be in the way, and then when you pull it up, that would be the box going up. Anyways, it's kind of backwards, but yeah, aside from that, the brakes work great. It took forever to bleed them, and in the end it ended up being the master cylinder was bad. So I had another one upstairs that I had bought for that green truck over there, but I ended up putting that in, and immediately I had brakes. So that's great news. My split rims are holding together. So it was actually this side over here, which was the sort of scary one, I think, but it looks fine. Nothing's bad there. Back wheels are still good. So yeah, I'm just going to go through some little things. And I've got an old CB radio in a parts truck that I'm going to put in here just because it works, and it would be kind of neat. this on there to keep the pine needles out, really. Definitely not the finished result for an air cleaner. This hood sucks too. Well, the hood's okay, but the hinges are just... I put the new one in on the passenger side. The driver's side is garbage. But it's pretty cold out today. You can see my breath. It's probably about -2 or something. But I'll just move it forwards here, show you guys. Clutch works, brakes work. Got no choke hooked up, so it's just struggling a bit, but first gear. And the PTO does work, but it was a pain to get it back out. But I may as well just show you guys. I'll struggle with it later, but this lever sort of jams a bit. But just got to get it. Can't tell if I got the PTO out or not, but you push this lever down, let the clutch out. There goes the box. There it is. PTO spins, runs that pump. I think it's low on fluid. I think it should go higher. I got a bunch of stuff back here, but there it is. Box dumps. And then truck's gonna die here, but like I said, got no choke hooked up, but you pull the handle back up. Box comes back down. That's it. And then I got to get it, to get it out of there, I got to push this back forward, so I got to go in reverse. This is where it gets tricky. I got to get it out of the, almost got to push it with my foot, let my foot off the clutch a little bit. Yeah, that's a pain. I'll have to fix that. I don't love that. Can't seem to get the PTO out. That's just me trying to get it out of, get the PTO out. It's just trying to stall on me here. There we go. But anyways, guys, that is, we're calling a good driver. Boot around Arrington, get firewood, get loads of topsoil for my wife, or she does want to do some landscaping back here, and I keep saying, well, we're gonna have this dump truck, and we got to do some. She wants to put fresh gravel over there all the way back to the shop here, so. I think this thing, once I get some of the little kinks hammered out here, I think this thing will be just awesome to use just around the yard here. And I've already got a couple buddies who have asked, hey, you know, once you get that dump truck going, maybe we can do a load whatever to my place, and I'm more than happy to just put this thing to use. Okay, now my buddy Shane lent me this shine juice. This is the Vice Grip Garage shine juice. Thought we'd give it a try on the dump truck here. There's not a lot of space to cover, just the cab obviously. But yeah, you know, this paint's pretty done. It's the pink underneath, I'm guessing, is the primer. I went along and sort of picked up all the loose chunks of paint that are chipping off here, and thought we'd go over it with this and see what it does, see if it shines it up at all. I mean, it's not going to get any prettier than it is, aside from having a bit of a shine to it. So yeah, let's just see what this stuff does. It looks like you just pour it on a rag, bright yellow, wipe it on. Okay, so what I am seeing so far is just basically a shine on the hood. I've only done the hood. I haven't even done the part where the Ford emblems are. So I think the problem with this hood is that all that pink primer and all the chipping, sort of blistering paint, has basically taken all that oil. It's basically like linseed oil and some other stuff, but it's sort of sucked it in. So there is some shine there on the hood versus the fender. I haven't done the fender yet, so that's still flat. I don't know if you can see the difference with this camera, but I can see a minor difference. So now that I've started, I'll just keep going and see if it makes much of a difference. Well, I don't know if I can really tell a difference. I mean, I did do it. I haven't done the whole truck. I did the whole hood. I did half of this header panel up to about here on the center between the O and the R. See, this side I haven't done. This side I did do. I mean, there's a little bit of a shine. It definitely brings a shine to the old flat paint. I did this fender and I did this door. And the door really shone through because it was flat black, and it just sort of pops a lot more. I started doing the roof. And you can actually see pretty good there on the back of the cab. I did there. You can sort of see in the center where it's shiny and then it's not. So I did that. I sort of got the back. And like around the door edges here on the window. So I'll just go over and do the other side. And yeah, I guess there's some shine there. Better than it was. It was pretty flat. So the areas with decent paint left turns out pretty good. Alright, so here's to go for the first test drive. I've got insurance on the truck, and just gonna see if it'll make it over to my buddy Chris's house. He's the same guy who did the seat, actually, and he's the same guy who I usually just test drive to his house because he's close by. So got 588 gears, 5.88, so a little slow. So far, so good. Good oil pressure. We're doing about 30 miles an hour spinning 2 grand, so this thing is going to be slow. Wow. Interesting vibrating sound coming from down there. I think it's the PTO handle rattling around, but I mean, overall it actually runs really well. It's just extremely short gear. It's a 390, so you don't really want to rev it past, like, you know, 3 grand. It's such a long stroke, but hey, turn signals work, brakes work, clutch works. I'm pretty sure everybody in the neighborhood knows I'm coming. This thing is pretty loud. The seat's nice and comfy though, so that's pretty cool. All in all, it actually drives really well. I gotta yell because it's loud in here, but well, there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. There's a couple little more things I've got to do, like I've got to put a speedometer cable in it. I do have one, I just didn't get around to it. And I've really got to mess around with this fuse block under here. Whoa, there's things arcing at me. So there. Really got to mess around with the fuse block because I've got no turn signals randomly. And then also the blower motor just decides not to work. So something weird going on with that fuse block, as you just saw. Aside from that, I think it's a good driver. My wheels didn't blow apart. I was mostly nervous about that passenger side split rim there that I thought for sure was going to come apart, but it didn't. So that's very good news. It's definitely slow. I can't see it going above 50 miles an hour. That'd be tops, even if I could even get it up to that with those steep gears. But this thing is definitely going to work well hauling stuff around. I don't think there'd be a problem with the weight in the back. The gears are so steep, nothing, I don't think it would matter what you put in the back, it would just pull it around. So, very cool. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. And it's another cool old truck put back on the road.